Hi, and welcome to BNEWS Weekly. I'm Linda McNamee, in for Phil Gallagher. Joining me on this week's edition is BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, BNEWS reporters Tad Stefanak, Chris Flaherty, Robert Paris, and John Vayas, Peter Brown with the weather, Maddie Shipka on Community Calendar, and Liz Gillespie with our sports report. Burlington police are investigating after a man was found shot with serious injuries early Tuesday morning. Chief Michael R. Kent reports Burlington police and fire were called to a residence on McCafferty Way shortly after midnight on Tuesday for a report of a person shot. Upon arrival, first responders found a man inside the residence attempting to care for wounds to his back, lower abdomen, and upper legs. The victim, a 20-year-old Burlington man, was transported by the Burlington Fire Department to Leahy Hospital and Medical Center with injuries that are considered serious but not believed to be life-threatening. Authorities say the ongoing investigation by the Burlington Police Department and the State Police Crime Scene Unit indicates that the victim had been shot in the parking lot of the American Legion post on Wynn Street after the victim met with two men at an undetermined location. The facts and circumstances of the incident are under investigation by the Burlington police detectives. At this time, police do not believe this was a random act, and there is no danger to the community. Anyone with information regarding this incident is urged to call the Burlington Police Department at 781-272-1212. A Burlington woman has been charged in a hit-and-run case after she allegedly crashed into 4 children and then attempted to hide her vehicle. NBC Boston reports that Stephanie DiTomasi, 30, of Burlington, pleaded not guilty to charges of leaving the scene of personal injury, leaving the scene of property damage, destruction of evidence, negligent operation, and speeding in court. A judge set her bail at $1,000 and she was ordered not to drive. According to Middlesex District Attorney Marion Ryan and Stoneham Police, on October 13th, an incident captured on surveillance video showed a Subaru Legacy striking 4 children, all aged 12 and 13, while they stood with bicycles in front of a home. The vehicle dragged one of the bikes for a distance and then left the scene. Fortunately, none of the children were seriously injured, but 2 of them were taken to the hospital. It took police multiple days to identify DiTomasi as the operator of the vehicle due to her attempts to evade detection. They said she hid her car under a tarp in Lynn and removed the license plate. A probable cause hearing is scheduled for November 26. Cambridge Street was shut down for a couple of hours on Friday as emergency and utility crews responded to a burning telephone pole in the vicinity of Burlington High School. The fire was in an old pole tethered to a new one and was likely started when the live wires rubbed up against it, Interim Fire Chief Mike Patterson explained. Flames could be seen coming out of the top, and firefighters said the interior of the pole was burning. During the work to put out the fire, the power had to be cut. Traffic was also blocked in both directions and drivers were diverted from the scene. Eventually, a crew from Eversource was able to cut the top off the old pole and separate it from the new one. Power was restored and the street reopened early Friday afternoon. Zoning Board of Appeals member Brenda Rappaport has been appointed to the Planning Board and will serve at least up to the next election, if not beyond. On Monday evening, the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board held a joint meeting to appoint a replacement for longtime Planning Board member Jack Kelly, who resigned last month. The 2 finalists up for consideration were Board of Appeals members and Real Estate Global Portfolio Manager for Nuance, Brenda Rappaport, and town meeting member and campaign coordinator for Boston Climate Action Network, Andy Wells-Bean. Both candidates gave statements about why they wanted to fill the empty planning board seat. Wells-Bean said he wanted to bring his background on environmental issues and smart sustainability to the board. Rappaport said that Burlington means a lot to her and her family, who had been longtime members of the community. Let's take a look.
So much for having me here. Thank you to the Board of Selectmen as well as the Planning Board. This has been a great opportunity. I think I've shared with you before, Burlington is not only my heart and my soul, but it's also my leg and a fifth. It's so important to me to continue.
Two boards voted by roll call, and in the end, Rappaport gained one more vote than Wells Bean, with Board of Selectmen Chair Joe Morandi breaking a tie with a vote for Rappaport. Members of both boards thanked both candidates and everyone who had applied for the position. According to Town Clerk Amy Warfield, Rappaport will serve until the April 2020 town election. Whoever wins that election will serve out the remainder of Kelly's term, which ends in 2022. There has been a lot of opportunities for spooky fun this Halloween season in Burlington, and we at BCAT have covered a lot of it. Up first, BNews reporter Chris Flaherty has a look at the Burlington Girl Scouts Trunk or Treat event in the parking lot of Francis Wyman Elementary School.
Boys and ghouls of Burlington flocked to Francis Wyman Elementary on Sunday, October 20th for the Girl Scouts' second annual Trunk or Treat.
Wendy Geist, who is a Girl Scout leader here in town, decided that it would be fun to do some kind of fall holiday event, so she decided to organize a trunk or treat. We sent out flyers to all the schools asking for people to sign up, and I think we had 17 cars and then a bunch of vendors.
Trunk or treaters made their way down the parking lot from trunk to trunk, collecting Halloween treats. The vehicles were decorated by Burlington Girl Scout troops and local families and businesses.
So this is Troop 72046, we're a junior Girl Scout troop out of Burlington, and the girls did allergy awareness to make trick-or-treating fun for all kids.
Well, Olivia had an emoji costume, and we were thinking we wanted to do something that had to do with emojis. So we decided that we were going to do the emoji costume and the emoji trunk this year.
So we're here promoting Ellen's School of Dance. It's a dance studio that's in Billerica, right on the Billerica-Burlington line. We have here some nice, beautiful spider webs on our web, and we're just here, passing out coupons. If you bring the coupon in or mention the ad Trunk or Treat, we'll waive the registration fee.
Well, this trunk is inspired by the Day of the Dead holiday in Mexico. My mother and I have always been very fascinated by the holiday, and so we decided to have that as our theme for this year's Trunk or Treat.
The event also doubled as a fundraiser for People Helping People, and the turnout for the day was nothing short of spooktacular.
Every family that came out to Trunk or Treat, they were asked to bring a food item for the food pantry in Burlington for People Helping People. I think a bigger success than we expected.
It was
huge. People coming out. We have huge donations for the food pantry. Very successful, and it's promoting Girl Scouts, so even better.
Trunk or Treat is not only a great way to get into the Halloween spirit, it's a way for the Girl Scouts of Burlington to give back to the community.
We want to make sure that people understand that Girl Scouts is really strong here in Burlington, and they're very interested in supporting our community because Burlington is such a wonderful community to be in, and they're very supportive of the Girl Scouts. So that's why we wanted to give back, and that's kind of why we decided to invite all the kids here to have fun as well as help support People Helping People and the Burlington Food Pantry.
Until next time, this is Chris Flaherty for BNews Weekly, wishing you a happy Halloween.
Thank you, Chris. Last Saturday, there was a lot of Halloween activities, including the 3rd Avenue Monster Mash and the Parks and Recreation Department's Spooktacular. BNews reporter John Valles has a handful of volunteers were at both events and have this look.
Spooky season is no stranger to the town of Burlington, and on Saturday, October 26th, 3rd Avenue held their very first Monster Mash during the day, featuring live music, face painting, and a chance for trick-or-treaters to walk from store to store to get what else but candy. Later that night, the Parks and Recreation Department once again held their annual Halloween Spooktacular at Simons Park. Here are some highlights from that day.
So we just gave out about 1,500 pieces of candy. We're all out.
An hour and a half.
And about an hour and a half, so yeah, we were really busy over there.
So was this planned, or did you just say we're all dressing up?
No, it was an accident. So we're two different families.
We never even met before until today. This is a weird coincidence.
And we were just going to be the Incredibles, and then we found out that they were going to be the Incredibles.
How much prep did it take to put all this together? There's a lot of prep. The program staff starts planning this out really the year before.
So what has been your favorite thing that you guys did tonight?
Doing the trampoline.
Oh, you guys like the trampoline? How was that?
Good.
How have the turnouts been?
It's been awesome. They've had a lot of little kids, and they're enjoying themselves.
So over there at the Bruise Witches game, me and my friend Kaden, we had the kids with a bucket of candy, and for each piece you get in, you get a certain amount of candy.
Doing a little bit of fantasy for them, you know, getting into a costume for a character or a person that they really like, and just seeing the smiles on the faces.
You can catch full coverage of both events right here on BCAT's public channel, from 3rd Avenue to Simons Park. Along with Anthony Matos, Stephen Noonan, and the Carey siblings, I'm John Vias, wishing you a happy and frightful Halloween from BNEWS Weekly.
And crew. Finally, on Halloween night, the Burlington Historical Commission opened up the historic West School to trick-or-treaters to hand out both treats and a history lesson. BNews reporter Robert Paris was there and has this.
Trick or treat. On Halloween night, I had a chance to stop by the old West School, a one-room schoolhouse that was built in the year 1794.
Oh, Halloween is the great holiday for kids, and this is the remaining one-room schoolhouse, which of course is built for kids. So for the kids, this is a treat. They come in, see the old school. We have some munchkins, some candy, some cider, and it's the only day we actually are scheduled to be open. Otherwise, we're open for the third grade field trips or by appointment.
Lastly, the Historical Society wanted to give kids of this generation a glimpse of the 1700s on All Hallows Eve.
One of the reasons we want to get the third graders in here and to other historical places here in town to give them an idea of life in the past.
From the West School, I'm Robert Paris for BNews Weekly.
Thank you, Robert. One more Halloween item. If you have more Halloween candy than you know what to do with, there's a win-win solution. Donate it to the Burlington Veterans Services to be shipped to men and women serving overseas. The department said they will gladly accept any leftover Halloween candy you have, and they will package it all up and send it with the handmade letters they receive from the kids in the Burlington Public Schools to veterans that are currently deployed overseas. Burlington Veterans Services is located in room 203 of the Human Services Building at 61 Center Street. There will be a container set up outside the office for donations in case nobody's there when you stop by. You can either donate anonymously, or if you'd like, you can write your own note to the soldiers and it will be included in the care package. The long saga of the Burlington Beer Works liquor license continues. At Monday night's Board of Selectmen meeting, the board voted to continue a public hearing to possibly revoke the license for extended inactivity until December to give the business another chance to transfer it. In March, the Board of Selectmen voted to revoke the liquor license for Sleazer Brothers Brewing Company due to a long delay starting work on the Burlington Beer Works project in the Crossroads Plaza at 34 Cambridge Street. This was the second time they had set such a hearing, with the first being overruled by the state over a technicality. On Monday, attorney Paul Sporn, representing the restaurant company, said that though many efforts had been made, there was still no deal to transfer the license to another party. He said they had hired a liquor license broker and had even held an auction that was advertised to the restaurant community, but had received no takers. He said the reason might be a downturn in the restaurant business and pointed to recent closings, including Del Frisco's Grill, out as evidence. Sporn also argued that his client is not like some of the big restaurant groups that own multiple franchises across the country and could absorb the hit of losing out on the opportunity to charge for the transfer of a liquor license. He noted that Sleazer Brothers paid $195,000 for the license, and for the company's owner, that's a significant sum. Members of the board greeted these arguments with both skepticism and some sympathy. However, in the end, the board voted to continue the hearing until December 16th. This week, the town took a significant step toward earning a Green Community designation by the state's Department of Energy Resources. Both the Board of Selectmen and the school committee approved a plan to reduce the town's energy use by 20% in the next 5 years. Much of this reduction will come from upgrading lighting and HVAC systems in town and school buildings. Department of Public Works Director John Sanchez and DPW Operation Analyst Rachel Kaplan were before both boards to make the pitch for this plan. Here is Kaplan explaining how becoming a designated green community would benefit Burlington.
When we get designated, which we are very confident that we will, on November 20th, as Bob mentioned, we will get right off the bat of $173,000, which is going to kick off some of our, every year we're going to be able to get about $250,000. We're trying to reach 20% in 5 years, is we get more money.
As part of STEM Week, the Burlington Public Schools Science Center traveled to the elementary schools with an interactive talk on the science of light. BNEWS director Rich Hosford attended one of these sessions and has this look.
It was lights, camera, science in the Francis Wyman Auditorium last Thursday as the Burlington Public Schools Science Center dazzled students with an interactive show to both educate them and get them engaged in science. It was part of the school department's STEM Week activities, meant to give students exposure to topics in science, technology, engineering, and math to hopefully inspire them to further their studies in these areas in the future. STEM Week is a state initiative that has been fully embraced by Burlington schools.
Here in Burlington, we're doing a lot of great work in our libraries. Students are being introduced to computer science concepts. And here, the Science Center, what we're doing is we've spent the whole week traveling to each of our elementary schools, performing this light show presentation where we get to share some of the more engaging demonstrations that we know as it pertains to light energy.
The Science Center explored the multiple forms, uses, and interesting details of light.
We focused on the science of light. Light is a subject that connects to all the sciences, whether it's life science, space science, physical science, and we did demonstrations talking about how light behaves, how we use light to communicate, and then the basic concepts of light itself.
The multifaceted show packed in a lot of information and a lot of visual effects. It was designed to both educate students and make them excited about the subjects of science.
These are very visual for kids, and when we do demonstrations like this, it really tends to sink in. It connects the content that they're learning in the classroom with the real world. They're things that are extraordinary that a classroom teacher necessarily couldn't do, like all together with the time allotted within a classroom. So by us presenting and doing this as an auditorium program, it really connects all aspects and brings that excitement to kids, but still focuses on those science concepts and connects it to the curriculum that they're doing in the classroom. And even when kids grow up and come to high school and they visit the Science Center, these are the shows that, things that really stick out in their memory. They really remember these demos connected with that science concept. So for some reason, it's kind of like the edutainment where you're doing the education but putting that entertainment piece in, and it really makes it meaningful for the student.
It's a lot of work to put a show like this together, but if it helps inspire students to pursue the sciences, it is all worth it for Sean and Wendy.
Well, especially here in Massachusetts, we know that there's a lot of jobs in our workforce that are going to require the skills that scientists, engineers, mathematicians need. But more importantly to us, these are just fields that are engaging and really enrich our kids' lives in terms of their abilities to investigate and explore their world. So promoting those fields of study, if you will, for a week to encourage kids to pursue them on their own is part of the game.
From the Francis Wyman Auditorium, I'm BNEWS Director Rich Hosford.
Thank you, Rich. That looked like a lot of fun. The Burlington Area Chamber of Commerce annual Foodie Fest, The Taste, showcases some of the finest cuisine in Massachusetts and is a great example of how the BACC is working to accommodate workers and employers. BNews reporter Tad Stefanak has this look.
On Monday, October 28th, the Burlington Area Chamber of Commerce hosted their 13th annual The Taste. I caught up with some of the event organizers to find out more about this highly anticipated event.
One of the great things about this is these are our members, and we're trying to connect them with their ideal audience. But we always tell people, you have a choice when you spend your money. There are all types of restaurants here from the whole span. And we like to make sure that when you go out and spend your money, that the money stays in the community. These are very hardworking people. They're giving their time and money tonight.
We were just setting up, and one of the restaurants said to me, do you remember the years when we were begging people to come and when there weren't really enough restaurants in the area? And that's completely different now.
In fact, there's a waiting list to get in here. We can only fit so many restaurants in here, but that's one of the benefits of being a member of the Burlington Area Chamber of Commerce.
This year, Eddie V's, of course, is open. We have our old favorites in Chops and Capitol Grill, and the Bancroft is here. You have the hotels are here. You know, Lakash's Bakery and Deli and True North. I mean, it's every different size.
We're working behind the scenes, trying to find staffing and transportation for the restaurants. It's an industry right now with record low unemployment. It's really hard to staff all of these restaurants, so we work very hard for our members, very hard for the restaurants.
Really, in the last few weeks, as we started a shuttle that's bringing workers in from Lowell, from an area where there are available workers coming out of their schools and other programs to work in our restaurants. You know, there are hundreds of job openings right now in Burlington restaurants. These buses are rolling 7 days a week, 7 times a day. They're here. It's a great opportunity. The Burlington Area Chamber of Commerce was instrumental in getting this done.
The restaurant industry is becoming a workhorse of the Burlington economy, with the Burlington Area Chamber of Commerce and local officials working to make it stronger every day. You can see BCAT's coverage of The Taste in its entirety, coming soon to BCAT and bcattv.org. For BNews Weekly, I'm Bethany Mayo.
The Board of Selectmen voted to allow the use of remote participation during its meetings, even as members talked about the importance of not taking advantage of it. In August, the board voted to approve a trial of a remote participation policy for boards and committees in town that would allow members to attend the meeting and vote on agenda items using electronic devices. After the vote, each board and committee had to vote whether the practice would be allowed for their members. On Monday, it was up to the selectmen to decide whether or not the policy will apply to the Board of Selectmen. Selectman Nick Priest, who originally proposed the policy, said he was in favor of approving its use, with the understanding it was for exceptional circumstances only. When originally discussing the policy this summer, board members did emphasize that it should only be used when absolutely necessary. The policy itself also limits its use to a certain set of situations: personal illness, personal disability, an emergency, military service, or due to geographical distance. Still, members emphasized their thoughts on the need for elected and appointed officials to be at meetings in person. Selectman Bob Hogan had this to say.
I would just say that as the Board of Selectmen, I think it's whether we have passed this or not, that we not show the other departments or the other committees that have boards.
The board voted 4-1-0 to approve remote participation at selectmen meetings. Vice Chair Mike Runyon, who had opposed the policy originally, voted against the motion. We go now to BNews weatherman Peter Brown in our Weather Center for the latest forecast. We'll also check out the community calendar with Maddie Shipka to see what's happening in Burlington.
Well, hello everyone, and this is Peter Brown with the look at your weather for the next 7 days. And I know it's hard to believe it, but here we are in November. So we are actually, if you can believe it, in the last meteorological month of fall. So I know that doesn't sound like a really happy thing to say as we start out our forecast here, but I'm going to say that we are at least going to be starting our period with temperatures that are going to be a little bit above average for this time of the year, starting on November 1st. Now, you probably were a little bit surprised by our Halloween forecast. Last week we said it looked like it was only going to be in the 40s. Well, it didn't turn out that way. We had temperatures up in the mid-70s, so a really nice end to October. And of course, starting out our period on Friday, again, temperatures are going to be a little bit warmer than average, but that's going to be in the early morning as we see a very strong cold front coming through the Burlington area, and that's going to drop our temperatures as we head into the weekend, down more towards where we should be for average at this time of the year, and probably a little bit below. So these highs up in the 70s, these record highs, we're going to be far away from those for quite a while. As we end out our period, rounding out the first week of November, our average highs still cooling down, only supposed to be in the low 50s, and that's pretty much where we're going to be. And of course, as you notice right here, our days keep getting shorter and shorter, and we want to remind you, of course, that on Saturday night before you go to sleep, you want to make sure that you turn your clocks back an hour as we head on towards fall. Now, as we go ahead, let's take a look at what we're looking for in terms of temperatures and precipitation coming up for the next 7 to 10 days. Now, here on this map, this is actually some good news from the Climate Prediction Center. Looks like up here in the Burlington area and the rest of southern New England, across actually a good portion of the country, we're expecting the chances of below average precipitation, and we definitely need a chance to dry out after all of the heavy rain we've been seeing for the past few weeks. As we go ahead, let's take a look at what we're expecting for temperatures coming up for the next 7 to 10 days as well. Now, this graphic here, they're still calling in our area from the Climate Prediction Center to have temperatures near or a little bit above average. Doesn't quite look that way when I looked into the forecast going out. And as you can see, most of the country is going to be dominated by very chilly temperatures coming up. And actually, many of these areas out in the Midwest where the below average temperatures are have seen quite a bit of snow already. But don't worry, snow is definitely not in our forecast coming up for the next 7 days. So let's go ahead and take a look at our weather again coming up for the next 7 days. And here we go. We're finally, looks like we're going to have a fairly dry week coming up. We had a very, very soggy week last week. And again, starting our period on Friday, we're going to see some leftover showers and some heavy rain and some pretty gusty conditions early in the morning Friday, then clearing out. And again, that morning high up in the mid-60s, that's going to fall dramatically down to the 40s as we head in towards the afternoon. But though, as we get into the weekend, look at this. All the way out through the end of the period, absolutely beautiful conditions. Fair weather each day, although you are going to notice a chill in the air, especially after how warm it's been the past couple of days and past few weeks here in October. And our weekend, of course, fair skies, temperatures in the mid-50s on Saturday. But look at this. If you're stepping out on Sunday, you're definitely going to need to have either a heavy sweater on or a jacket. Temperatures we're only expecting to be in the low 50s. And morning lows, we definitely think are going to be getting down to the upper 20s. So looks like we have a hard freeze coming up the next few nights, especially getting into the end of the weekend and the start of the work week. And then as we round out our period, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, again, more wall-to-wall sunshine, maybe a few fair weather clouds, and temperatures about average for this time of the year. Again, as we head out the end of the period, a little bit chilly, only around 50, and of course those morning lows at or just below freezing. So everyone, get out there, enjoy the weather, and have a great week.
I'm Maddie Shipka, and this is your Community Calendar. Come and taste delicious and nutritious food. On Monday, October 4th, Leahy Hospital and Medical Center will be having a cooking demonstration and tasting class called Cooking Up Good Health. Everyone is welcome and pre-registration is required. To register, email Catherine Carruthers at catherine.f.carruthers@leahy.org or call 781-744-7322. I can't believe it's almost winter. On Thursday, November 7th, the Burlington Public Library will be having a presentation called Beat the Winter Blues with Dr. David Michelon. Everyone is welcome and the event is free. For more information, visit burlington.org or call 781-270-1690. Let's honor all the military men and women who've served and are serving in our country. On Monday, November 11th, the Burlington Veterans Service Office will be having their annual Veterans Day ceremony on the Burlington Town Common. The ceremony will be starting at 10 a.m., and in case of inclement weather, the ceremony will be moved inside the BHS Wooden Gym. Everyone is welcome, and the event is free. I'm Maddie Shipka, and this has been your Community Calendar.
Thank you, Maddie, and thank you, Peter. With playoffs coming, the Burlington Red Devil teams are fighting hard to earn their spot in the postseason. We go now to BNEWS sports reporter Liz Gillespie for all the latest action in this week's sports report.
Hey everyone, I'm Liz Gillespie for your weekly sports report. Burlington playoffs are setting the stage this week as the regular fall sports season are over. Now let's get to it. Girls varsity volleyball ended their season at Woburn High School, where they clashed with the Tanners on Monday, October 28th. The freshmen, JV, and varsity all lost to Woburn in close games. The girls' final record for the regular season was 16-4. The girls lost to Winchester early in the season. They lost to Melrose, Wakefield, and Woburn near the end of the season. However, the girls will be hosting the East Boston Jets in the first round of the MIAA Girls Volleyball Division II Playoffs tournament on Halloween at VHS. The girls' Lady Devils swim team had their second to last regular season meet on Monday, October 28th at Shawshene Valley Technical High School as they faced the Mount Alverina Mustangs. The Lady Devils had a number of swimmers that came in first place. You can find all the results at bcattv.org under the BNEWS Sports Hub section. The final score of the meet was 92-83 Burlington. The Lady Devils went to the Middlesex League Championship meet on Wednesday afternoon and will be having another meet on Friday to take on the Billerica Indians. The boys and girls varsity track teams traveled to the Woburn Country Club, where they had the Middlesex League Championship on Monday, October 28th. A wide variety of teams participated in the conference. Here's a clip of how the day went.
We went into the meet with certain goals, and I would say 2, maybe 3 of our kids hit those goals, and otherwise it was not a strong performance by us. That meet's sort of the final meet before the state tournament begins. States is a week from this Saturday. 10 of the kids on the team will run at States, and I will say of the 3 kids that I was happy with their performance yesterday, all 3 of them are kids who are going to States, so the rest of us, we need some work to do.
You can find all the results at bcattv.org under the BNews Sports Hub section. The boys and girls will be heading to the league championship on Saturday, November 9th. Finally, the Red Devil football team had their final regular season game against the Stoneham Spartans at Varsity Field on Friday, October 25th. At the time, Burlington was 3-3 and Stoneham was 4-2. We have some highlights. Let's check those out.
It was a big night for the Red Devils and Spartans as they faced off for their final regular season game of 2019. Let's start in the first quarter. The Red Devils quickly moved the chains down the field, with Kyle Pena and John Hurley scoring 6-0 for the Red Devils. Next possession, Stoneham does a little bit of trickery and they had themselves a touchdown, 7-6. Same formation, but it's a quarterback sneak. Spartans led by 6. Now to begin the second quarter, it's Pena rolling to his right. He finds number 10, Sean Pinkham, all tied at 13. Here goes Deshaun Chase as he threw the first pass for Stoneham on the day to number 2, 19-13. Later, Pena almost gets sacked by number 5 of Stoneham, so instead, he threw to wide open Sean Pinkham for a Red Devils touchdown. Here goes a wide receiver sweep. Whoop! Let me just deke and dunk and into the end zone, 27-20 Stoneham. The Spartans also went for 2. Last possession for Stoneham before the half. Here's Chase doing a little spin move, and he found himself into the end zone, 37-20 Stoneham. Third quarter, the Spartans said, let's pick up the pace, fellas. Let's add another 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. How about one more in the fourth? Your final score, 56-20 Stoneham.
Burlington snuck into the playoffs at 3-4 and ranked number 8th seed. They'll be traveling to take on the undefeated Melrose Red Raiders again on Friday, November 1st in Melrose. And Melrose finished the regular season game at 7-0. And that's all for your weekly sports report. I'm Liz Gillespie. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you, Robert. Another week, another photo to highlight. This week's photo is a somber reminder to cherish the ones you love and the need for love to triumph over hate. On Monday, October 25th, 11 members of Temple Shalom Emeth lit Yarit's memorial candles on the first anniversary of the shooting of 11 members of the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. We'd like to see your photos. They could be of something you see around town, the weather outside your own door, or even photos of your family members and pets. whatever you think is interesting and would like to share. Email your photos to bcat@bcattv.org with the subject line, Photo of the Week. Well, that's it for this week's edition of BNEWS Weekly. I'm Linda McNamee. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you around town. Good night.